Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. 10 school teachers are suing the state of California after being forced to pay union fees they say violate their free speech rights. The lawsuit is being brought forth by the Center for Individual Rights. With us now on the phone is Mike Carvin, the lead counsel who filed the suit. And Mr. Carvin, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to be here, thanks.
The legal challenge targets California laws that allow unions to collect annual fees from workers who don't want to join. Talk to us real quickly. What are the teachers' concerns and why are they suing?
Well, these people have decided that they don't want to be members of the union, but nonetheless, California extracts essentially full union dues from them and passes them along to the unions. And that violates the First Amendment for a couple of reasons. It requires them to subsidize associations with whom they disagree. The unions make a number of very controversial political and ideological stands, and so California's coercing one citizen, my clients, to subsidize other citizens in their political beliefs, and that just violates the First Amendment. California couldn't require them to contribute to the Democratic or Republican Party or to the ACLU or the Right to Life groups. So they obviously should not be able to coerce them into supporting these unions, which are at the center of a host of very important budgetary and political issues.
You say that unions are using their power to extract compulsory fees as a convenient method of forcing teachers to pay for activities that have little to do with collective bargaining. Now, the lawsuit also says that teachers who do not want to fund political activity face a very difficult opt-out process. Do you believe that this, along with the agency law that's in question here, are political, that this was done by design to keep the money spigot flowing to the unions to keep their Democratic cronies in power in perpetuity?
Well, there's no question but that the unions view this coerced regime as very important to their survival. We've all seen what happened in Wisconsin and other states that sought to end this sort of thing. They view it as essential. And that reflects the fact that they're not able to voluntarily attract, like all other interest groups and political organizations need to do, voluntary donations from people who support them. So they're using the state to require these people to fund their collective bargaining activities and then making them go through this opt-out process, even if they just want to save a part of those fees. We think that the situation should be you never have to give fees, but if you do, it should certainly be something where you opt in, where you say, I'd like to support the union, not where you have to voluntarily opt out.
Now, the California Teachers Association spokesman, Frank Wells, called the lawsuit a, quote, baseless challenge intended to dilute worker rights. He says no one is forced to join a union or spend money on political activity. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's untrue in two senses. They have this thing, they say, they try and distinguish between their collective bargaining activities and their political activities, the unions, and they will basically send back a third of the fees, which they say are political. But in reality, of course, you're subsidizing the union's all of its activities, collective bargaining and political, because money's fungible. So this is an artificial accounting regime. But more important, collective bargaining with public governments is itself political. They negotiate class size, teacher evaluation, all kinds of things that go to the heart of educational reform. And on top of that, of course, as everybody in California knows, it's these collective bargaining agreements and pensions which are bankrupting a lot of cities out there. And so by definition, what they're doing is engaging in budgetary processes that affect everybody, because every dollar you spend for a teacher is something that you can't spend on parks or welfare or something else. So there's no real distinction between collectively bargaining with city officials and lobbying city officials. It's the same thing.
Now, the suit also targets the National Education Association, 10 affiliated local teachers unions, and local school officials. Can you tell us why they've been named in the suit?
They're the recipients of this regime by California. Most of the money goes to the California Teachers Association, not the local union that does the nuts and bolts collective bargaining. And a big chunk of it also goes to the National Educational Association. And I don't think anybody can review either the California Teachers Association or the National Education Association and not know that these are very active political players that get involved in a whole host of issues affecting educational reform from vouchers on out, but also, issues like Prop 8, the gay marriage issues, Obamacare, all kinds of things that reasonable people disagree about, and which one citizen shouldn't be required to subsidize another citizen's political views on.
Last question for you, Mike. If you win this lawsuit, what would a victory mean to those trying to put a stop to big unions' power grab?
Well, it would stop the unions from coercing people to join their unions. If they've got an important message and if they're doing something good for employees, then there's no reason to think that they won't be able to voluntarily attract those people as union supporters. What we object to is not unions. What we object to is the state forcing people to subsidize unions, and that's a very different thing.
All right. Mike Carvin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.